What if I told you that the key to unlocking your best life isn't some complicated secret or a big external change? What if I said that everything you've been searching for, success, peace, happiness, can begin with something as simple as the conversation you're having with yourself right now? This isn't just a theory, it's backed by cutting-edge neuroscience and ancient Buddhist teachings wisdom. Your self-talk, the words you say to yourself, shapes your reality in ways you might not even realize. The more you think, the more your brain rewires itself, and the life you experience reflects the thoughts you choose. Do you ever wonder why some people seem to thrive no matter the circumstances, while others stay stuck in patterns of failure or self-doubt? The difference lies in their inner dialogue. Neuroscientists have found that your brain is constantly adapting to your thoughts, creating new neural pathways every time you think, say, or feel something. But here's the truth. Your brain can't distinguish between what's real and what you're simply thinking about. This means your thoughts are creating the reality you live in. So if you've been feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or simply not where you want to be, this is your chance to change it. Let's explore how you can harness the power of your mind to transform your life, starting right now. Day 1. The science of self-talk and rewiring your brain. Did you know that your thoughts reshape your brain? Have you ever stopped to think about how powerful your thoughts are? You've probably heard that what you think shapes your reality, but here's the real kicker. Your thoughts can physically change your brain. Yes, you heard that right. Every thought you think forms new neural connections in your brain, literally rewiring it. Neuroscientists have a name for this incredible phenomenon: neuroplasticity. Neuroplasticity is the brain's ability to reorganize itself by forming new neural connections throughout life. In simple terms, the more you think a thought, the more the brain solidifies it, making it easier to think that thought again and again. In a sense, you are building the architecture of your mind, one thought at a time. Now here's the mind-blowing part. These thoughts aren't just in your head, they're creating your life. Think about it. How often do you tell yourself, "I'm not good enough," or "I can't do this"? These aren't just negative thoughts. They are creating pathways in your brain that make it easier to continue believing those things. Each time you reinforce these negative patterns, your brain becomes more efficient at thinking them. It's like walking the same path over and over until it becomes a groove in the ground. Eventually, that groove turns into a deep rut that you can't easily escape. But here's the good news. If your thoughts can create negative patterns, they can create positive ones too. This is where the science of neuroplasticity becomes your ally. By consciously shifting your thoughts and rewiring them, you can create new pathways in your brain, pathways that support your growth, success, and happiness. What if the same mind that created your problems is the same one that can solve them? Now let's bring this into the context of Buddhism. One of the core teachings of Buddhist philosophy is the understanding that the mind is always active, always creating thoughts. The Buddha taught that our minds are like a wild horse, constantly running in different directions. This is the nature of the mind. It is habitual, and left unchecked, it will continue to run on old patterns. These patterns can be driven by fear, attachment, anger, or self-doubt, things that prevent us from living freely and fully. This is where mindfulness comes into play. Mindfulness in Buddhism is the practice of observing our thoughts without judgment. It's about becoming aware of the mind's tendencies and gently bringing it back to the present moment. By practicing mindfulness, we can break the cycle of negative thinking and create new habits in our brains. Here's a simple example. Let's say you've been thinking for years that you're bad with money. Every time you face a financial challenge, your mind automatically tells you, "I can't handle this. I'm just not good at this." What you might not realize is that every time you think that, you are strengthening the neural pathway that says, "I'm bad with money." But by practicing mindfulness, you can catch that thought in the moment and change it to something like, I am learning how to manage money better every day. This small shift in thinking starts to create a new pathway, and over time, that pathway becomes stronger. So, what can you do on day one to start rewiring your brain? Now that you understand the incredible power of your thoughts and how they reshape your brain, the next step is to take action. On day one, the goal is simple but powerful. Begin with mindfulness and conscious self-talk. Start by observing your thoughts throughout the day. When a negative thought arises, such as, "I'm not good enough," or "I'll never succeed," pause and gently acknowledge it. Then replace it with something positive, something more aligned with the life you want to create. For example, if you think, "I'm terrible with money," replace it with, "I am learning to manage money wisely every day." This is how you begin to build new neural pathways. Every time you do this, you're reprogramming your brain to support your success, your growth, and your happiness. It may feel difficult at first, and that's okay. The key is to be patient and consistent. Practice every day, even if it's just for a few minutes. Over time, you'll notice that positive thoughts become more natural and the negative ones lose their power. As we continue this journey of transforming our minds, it's important to understand the biological effects of the thoughts we choose to feed ourselves. Day one was all about becoming aware of your thoughts and starting to consciously change them. But now let's dive deeper. Have you ever wondered why certain negative thoughts seem to stay with you? Or why some negative beliefs feel so powerful? The answer lies in the biological impact of self-talk. On day two, we're going to explore how negative self-talk doesn't just affect your mindset, it directly impacts your body and your biology. Let's see how those negative thoughts are affecting your health and what you can do about them. Day two, the impact of negative self-talk and its biological effects. What if I told you that the words you say to yourself are making you sick? Let's dive into a powerful and often overlooked truth. The words you speak to yourself don't just stay in your mind. They affect your entire body. Every time you say something negative to yourself, like "I'm not good enough" or "I'll never succeed," your body reacts. When you think negative thoughts, your brain releases stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline. These hormones, designed to help you survive immediate danger, are meant to be temporary. But in modern life, they can become constant companions when we repeatedly, negatively speak to ourselves. The problem? These stress hormones suppress your immune system, making you more susceptible to illness. They can also cause physical discomfort, like muscle tension, headaches, or stomach issues. Over time, chronic negative self-talk can lead to anxiety, depression, and even physical disease. It's a vicious cycle. The more you tell yourself you're not enough, the more your body responds with stress, and the more you reinforce those negative beliefs. Now here's where it gets even more interesting. Buddhism teaches us an important lesson about the impermanence of feelings. In Buddhist philosophy, everything is transient, even our thoughts and emotions. The Buddha often spoke about how we should not cling to negative emotions because they are like passing clouds. They are not permanent and do not define us unless we allow them to. When you start to realize that your thoughts are temporary, you gain the power to change them. You don't have to hold on to negative thoughts just because they pop into your head. This is where mindfulness comes in. By practicing mindfulness, you can observe your thoughts without judgment and recognize when they start to spiral into negativity. Instead of getting caught up in the emotion or the narrative of "I'm not good enough," you can simply observe it and let it pass, like a cloud drifting by. This is the first step in breaking free from the harmful effects of negative self-talk. For example, let's say you're facing a difficult situation at work, and your mind starts to tell you, "I'll never get this right," or "I'm not smart enough." Instead of letting those thoughts define you, take a step back. Pause, breathe, and remind yourself that these are just passing thoughts, not your truth. By practicing mindfulness, you allow yourself to let go of the stress and return to a place of calm. This not only helps reduce anxiety, but also improves your physical health, as your body's no longer under constant stress. So what can you do today to break the cycle? Now that you understand the science and the spiritual wisdom behind negative self-talk, you might be asking, what can I do about it today? The first step, as we learned yesterday, is to become aware of your thoughts. But today I want you to take it a step further. Begin to practice mindfulness in moments of stress. The next time you catch yourself thinking, I'm not good enough, pause for a moment. Take a few deep breaths and recognize that these thoughts are not permanent truths. They are just temporary feelings. Replace them with a more empowering thought, like, I am doing my best and I am capable of growth. By practicing this mindfulness, you are actively breaking the cycle of negative self-talk and rewiring your brain to respond with more positive, empowering thoughts. Remember, change doesn't happen overnight. But with consistent practice, you can start to shift your mindset and ultimately your health. Now that you've taken the first step in breaking the cycle of negative self-talk and are starting to practice mindfulness, let's explore how we can take this to the next level. In the next part, we'll dive into how you can use positive affirmations to further reprogram your mind and reinforce the positive changes you've started to make. These affirmations will help you not just change your thoughts, but also rewire your brain for lasting success and inner peace. Let's take a look at how you can use them to create a powerful shift in your life. Day 3. The power of positive affirmations and reprogramming the mind. You can change your life in a matter of days just by changing how you talk to yourself. What if I told you that your words could not only change how you feel, but also reshape your reality? The truth is, positive affirmations are more than just feel-good statements. They are scientifically proven to alter the structure of your brain, creating new neural pathways that support the person you are becoming. The way you talk to yourself has the power to transform your life, and it all begins with your words. We live in a world where negativity often dominates our thoughts. It's easy to get stuck in patterns of self-doubt, fear, or insecurity. But here's the powerful part. You can change this. By speaking empowering, positive words to yourself, you can change the way your brain functions. When you repeat affirmations, you're not just saying words. You are rewiring your neural networks to create a new reality. For instance, when you wake up in the morning and say, I am capable, or I am worthy of success, your brain starts to create pathways that reinforce these beliefs. Over time, these affirmations will become ingrained in your thinking. They will change the way you approach challenges, how you interact with others, and how you view yourself. But does it work? How can something so simple change my brain? It works because of neuroplasticity, the brain's incredible ability to change and adapt. Every thought you think activates certain neural pathways in your brain. The more you repeat a thought, the stronger that pathway becomes. Think of your brain as a field, and each thought is like walking down a path. The more often you walk down that path, the more defined and easier it becomes to walk. This is how positive affirmations help create new, supportive pathways in your brain. Let me give you an example. Think about a time when you faced a difficult situation. Maybe you thought, this is impossible, or I'll never be able to handle this. When you say these things to yourself, your brain responds by reinforcing the feeling of helplessness. Now imagine flipping that. Instead of I can't do this, you say, I can handle this. I am capable. By doing this, you are actively building a new pathway in your brain that supports your ability to succeed. But this goes beyond just the mind. Buddhism teaches us the importance of right speech. In Buddhism, right speech is one of the key ethical practices. It's not just about speaking truthfully to others, but also about the words we speak to ourselves. The words we use shape our internal environment. When we speak kindly to ourselves, we create a peaceful, harmonious state of mind that radiates outward. But how can we make sure this works? How do we turn affirmations into a daily practice? In Buddhism, the practice of mindful speech is a powerful tool. Every time we speak, we create a ripple in our minds. By practicing mindful speech, we not only create peace within, but also enhance the energy we project into the world. This energy influences how others respond to us, and most importantly, it influences how we feel about ourselves. If you want to make affirmations work, it's not enough to just say them once in the morning and forget about them. To truly reprogram your mind, you need to integrate positive affirmations into your daily routine. Start by choosing a few key affirmations that resonate with the person you want to become. For example, I am confident, I am worthy, I am resilient. Write them down and repeat them every morning. Say them out loud, feel them in your body, and let them resonate in your heart. Here's something I personally experienced. When I started practicing affirmations regularly, I noticed a subtle but powerful shift. I felt more confident, more grounded, and more focused on my goals. The change didn't happen overnight, but over time, those affirmations became a part of my inner dialogue. They became a new truth I could rely on. What should you do next? So what can you do today? Start your day with a few powerful affirmations. Write them down, speak them out loud, and feel them. The key is to practice consistently. When you do this every day, you begin to reprogram your brain. You'll start to notice changes, not only in your thoughts, but also in your actions and the way you show up in the world. Remember, this is about building a habit of thinking and speaking positively, a habit that will transform your reality. As you continue to incorporate affirmations into your daily life, we're going to build on this practice. In the next day, we'll dive into how you can create a daily practice of self-talk that will support your growth and reinforce the positive changes you're making. Let's explore how you can make positive self-talk an automatic part of your daily routine and how this practice can lead to lasting transformation. Day 4. Creating a daily practice of self-talk. Consistency is key. Just like meditation, daily practice transforms your life. If you've ever practiced meditation, you know that consistency is the secret to experiencing its full benefits. Just like meditation trains the mind to become more focused and present, the daily practice of self-talk works in a similar way to transform your thoughts in your life. You see, our brains are incredibly adaptable, and by consistently repeating empowering words and focusing on positive thoughts, we can gradually rewire our brains to support a more successful, confident, and fulfilling life. Here's the important thing. Repetition creates change. When you repeat empowering affirmations or positive statements about yourself every day, you begin to create new neural pathways in your brain that reinforce your desired mindset. Just like when you practice meditation to quiet your mind, practicing intentional self-talk helps quiet the negative voices in your head and replace them with beliefs that empower you. Let me ask you, have you ever tried something new and felt uncertain at first? Maybe you were learning a new skill or starting a new job. In the beginning, it felt uncomfortable, right? But the more you practiced, the more natural it became. The same applies to your self-talk. It might feel strange or forced at first, but the more you repeat those empowering words, the more they begin to feel natural. Over time, they become a permanent part of your inner dialogue. But how do you create a daily self-talk practice that sticks? Buddhism teaches us that practice is key to transformation. In the Buddhist tradition, we don't expect instant results. We cultivate mindfulness and wisdom through consistent, small steps. The same goes for reprogramming our minds. Every day you have the chance to intentionally choose the thoughts and words that will shape your future. In Buddhism, this concept of right speech is one of the core ethical principles. It's not just about speaking kindly to others, it's about speaking kindly to yourself as well. Right speech means that we speak truthfully, positively, and intentionally. And just like we practice mindfulness every day, we must practice right speech every day, especially with ourselves. Imagine you wake up every morning and immediately say, "Today is a new day. I am capable. I am enough." Over time, this repetition starts to change how your mind operates. It shifts from negative self-judgment to self-empowerment. It shifts from doubt to confidence. It shifts from feeling small to feeling big in the world. This daily practice isn't about perfection, it's about consistency. If you make the effort to practice your self-talk every day, even for just a few minutes, you will notice that your inner dialogue becomes more positive and supportive. The key is to start small. Set aside a few minutes each day for your self-talk practice. It could be when you wake up in the morning, before you go to bed, or during moments of stress throughout the day. So, how do you make this a lasting habit? The answer lies in creating a routine. Just like brushing your teeth or exercising, you need to integrate self-talk into your daily routine. Here's a simple strategy you can try. 1. Start your day with affirmations. As soon as you wake up, spend 2 to 3 minutes saying positive affirmations aloud. Look at yourself in the mirror and say, I am worthy, I am confident, I am capable of achieving my goals. This sets the tone for the day and primes your mind for success. 2. Set reminders. If you find it hard to remember, set an alarm on your phone to remind you to practice your affirmations. You can even write them down and carry them with you to read throughout the day whenever you need a boost. 3. Mindful self-talk. During stress, whenever you feel stressed, anxious, or insecure, take a deep breath and replace those negative thoughts with positive ones. Instead of thinking, I can't handle this, say to yourself, I can handle anything that comes my way. By incorporating these simple practices into your daily life, you're creating a habit that will gradually reshape your mind and transform your life. Why does this work? It works because of the power of neuroplasticity. As we've discussed before, your brain is constantly changing based on the thoughts you choose to think. The more you repeat positive affirmations, the stronger the neural pathways become, and the easier it gets to think positively and act confidently. Eventually, this becomes your new normal, and you won't have to think twice about it. Your mind will naturally gravitate toward positive thoughts and empowering beliefs. As you begin to create this daily self-talk practice, you might experience resistance. Your old negative patterns may try to pull you back, but that's normal. In the next section, we'll discuss how to overcome this resistance and fully integrate these new habits into your life. Days 5 to 7 will be about strengthening your new self-talk habits and overcoming the challenges that come with change. Let's dive into how to keep pushing forward even when resistance feels strong. Days 5 to 7. Overcoming resistance and integrating change. Resistance is a sign that transformation is happening. Push through it. As you continue with your daily self-talk practice, you may encounter something that feels uncomfortable. Resistance. It's a normal part of the process. When you start to change, your mind will try to pull you back into old habits, old ways of thinking. You'll feel a pushback, as if your old patterns are fighting to keep you in your comfort zone. But here's the secret. Resistance is a sign that transformation is happening. Just like in meditation, when discomfort arises, it's a signal to remain present and aware. In meditation, we often encounter discomfort in the form of restlessness, distractions, or thoughts that won't settle down. But instead of running away from that discomfort, we use it as an opportunity to practice mindfulness and stay focused. In the same way, when resistance arises in your self-talk practice, it's a moment to observe and stay committed to your new path. It's important to understand that this process is not about perfection. It's about consistency and commitment. Transformation is not something that happens overnight. It's a gradual process that requires patience and, more than anything, perseverance. You may slip back into negative self-talk at times, and that's okay. The key is not to judge yourself for it, but to keep going, to pick yourself up, and return to your practice with even more commitment. Why does resistance happen, and how can you overcome it? Resistance happens because your brain is fighting to stay in its comfort zone. The brain is wired to take the path of least resistance. which often means holding on to old beliefs and patterns. When you start changing your thoughts and reinforcing positive self-talk, your brain is creating new neural pathways. But these new pathways don't feel familiar yet. They're not as deeply ingrained as the old ones. So your brain wants to fall back on the old ways of thinking because they are easier. But here's the good news. The more you push through that resistance, the stronger the new pathways become. It's just like building muscle. The first few times you exercise, it's difficult, and you might even feel sore the next day. But over time, your muscles become stronger and more resilient. The same is true for your brain. Each time you encounter resistance and continue practicing your positive self-talk, you're building mental resilience. You're rewiring your brain for a new reality. What should you do when resistance shows up? When resistance shows up, don't be discouraged. Instead, view it as a signal that change is taking place. The key is to stay committed to your new practice, even when it feels uncomfortable. Here are a few strategies to help you push through resistance. 1. Acknowledge the resistance. Instead of ignoring or fighting the discomfort, acknowledge it. Say to yourself, I notice that I'm feeling resistance, and that's okay. This is part of the process. Recognizing the resistance takes away its power and puts you in control. 2. Practice self-compassion. It's easy to be hard on yourself when you encounter resistance, but remember to practice self-compassion. This isn't about perfection, it's about progress. If you slip up and fall back into negative thinking, simply acknowledge it, forgive yourself, and move forward. 3. Reaffirm your commitment. Remind yourself why you started this journey. Revisit your affirmations and your vision for the future. Reaffirm your commitment to becoming the best version of yourself. 4. Take small steps. If the resistance feels overwhelming, break it down into smaller, manageable actions. Instead of trying to change everything at once, focus on one aspect of your self-talk practice at a time. Celebrate small wins along the way. How can you integrate these new patterns into your life permanently? The final step in this process is to integrate these new thought patterns into your everyday life. Over the past few days, you've built a solid foundation by becoming aware of your thoughts, practicing mindfulness, and using affirmations. Now it's time to make these practices a natural part of your routine. Buddhism teaches us that suffering is a natural part of life, but through awareness and right action, we can transcend it. Just as we practice mindfulness every day to cultivate peace, we must also practice positive self-talk daily to create lasting transformation. By making self-talk a part of your daily routine, you create a habit of positivity that will gradually replace old negative patterns. What should you focus on in the next few days? In the next few days, focus on reinforcing your practice. Every time you encounter resistance or negative thoughts, use the tools you've learned to redirect them. Remember, this is not a race, it's a journey. The more consistent you are, the stronger the new patterns will become, until one day they are so deeply ingrained that positive self-talk will become your default setting. What kind of life could you create if you truly rewired your mind? Now take a moment to imagine who you could become after these 7 days. Imagine the person you could be if you practice speaking to yourself with love, power, and intention every single day. Your thoughts shape your reality. Your self-talk is the key to creating the life you've always dreamed of. Over these past days, you've learned how to harness the power of positive self-talk, the science of neuroplasticity, and the Buddhist practice of mindful speech to rewire your brain for success. By consistently practicing these tools, you have everything you need to transform your life. You've begun the process of changing your thoughts, changing your brain, and changing your reality. The question now is, are you ready to start today? Are you ready to embrace the new version of yourself? The power is in your hands. As you move forward, remember that transformation doesn't happen overnight, but with each positive thought and empowering affirmation, you're creating a new path for your future. It's time to step into the new you, the person you were always meant to be. If you're ready to take action, share your thoughts in the comments below, subscribe for more content like this, and share this video with someone who needs to hear this message. Let's continue this journey together. The new you is waiting,